So it makes sense that this movie is called The Monkey because it's absolutely bananas. So The Monkey is the new horror comedy film from Longlegs director Osgood Perkins. It's adapted from the short story by Stephen King in his book of shorts called Skeleton Crew. If you haven't read the short story, just know that it's in pretty good hands with Perkins, and he's expanded on the story quite a bit, and it's taken to a whole nother level. I mean, this movie is absolutely insane. When I left the theater, I thought that this may have been the craziest movie that I've ever watched, and then I remembered watching House for the first time. This movie felt the craziest in the moment. Who else could do this film but the son of horror legend Anthony Perkins from Psycho? Osgood actually plays his father, little Norman Bates in Psycho 2. So the film opens with a pilot covered in blood, played by Adam Scott, who's trying to sell the drumming monkey to a pawn shop, and then things go horribly wrong. Then after that, we meet his two sons, Hal and Bill, years later, around 1999, where Hal is sort of this timid and shy kid, and he's picked on and bullied a lot by a gang of girls at school. And then Bill is the complete opposite. He's a rude jerk of a kid who seems to absolutely hate his brother and has some issues due to being left by their father. They find the monkey in a box with their dad's things, and then things get really crazy. Every time they turn the wind-up key to the monkey, it starts to play creepy circus music and then starts to drum like crazy. And then a random person dies a horrible death. Thinking that this monkey may not be the best thing to hold on to, they throw the monkey down a well and go on with their lives until 25 years later. Hal has completely cut himself off from the world just in case the monkey finds him and wants to keep everyone safe from coming into contact with them, since a lot of people have died in the past around him. He has a son who he sees one day out of the year, and this is that day. Coincidentally, the monkey pops up as well, risking the life of his son Petey and everyone around him. Can Hal stop the monkey from killing again? Well, of course not. That's the whole point of the movie. Theo James plays the older version of Hal, and he also plays his twin brother Bill, and his performance is a lot of fun. And he does a great job playing both characters, and the way that they interact with each other is pretty brilliant. But what's even wilder is that Christian Convery plays the younger versions of both Hal and Bill also, and while I was watching this film, it didn't even occur to me that this was the same kid playing both parts. The personalities of Hal and Bill are so polar opposites of each other, and Convery does an amazing job. He has to carry the first 36 minutes of this film that tells the story of these boys, and it's a lot of work. I was incredibly impressed by this kid. This adaptation feels like a love story to Stephen King's work. It borders on the edge of satire, but just almost. The babysitter's name is Annie Wilkes from King's book Misery, and there's a lot of Stephen King references in this movie. Even though the first part of the film is set in 1999 and the second part in the present, it feels very 70s/80s horror. There are telephones that are used that are plugged into the wall, and Hal actually uses a real phone book. There's old school TVs and cars from that time, even an old 80s style street payphone booth. The color grade has a lot of browns and yellows, a lot of warm colors that give you 70s and 80s vibes. An old motel that you'd think would be around during that time. This movie brings all the quirky type characters you would imagine being in a Stephen King novel or film. Everything from a very eccentric stepdad who writes books on fatherhood, who's also a narcissistic jerk, a kid named Thrasher who kind of looks like Joey Ramone with the hair in his eyes, the grocery store very young manager whose lines are pretty simplistic but really, really funny. And Osgood Perkins himself plays good old Uncle Chip, and his performance is pretty hilarious. There are so many different characters with extreme personalities that make this movie. It is a very, very gory movie, but it is really stupid, unbelievable, outrageous gore that no one would ever believe was real. It's a lot like the horror movies of the 70s and 80s. Very over the top, like Evil Dead 2 or Scanners, just crazy. The story actually has some depth to it when you break it down. It's about the sins of the father inherited by the sons and being afraid of what traits you might have learned or inherited from your father or parent. It's also about how unpredictable and hard life can be, how death seems so random at times, and how fragile we really are. It's hard to believe that this film, as crazy as it is, could have any depth whatsoever, but it does a really good job getting there. In the book, the monkey is your typical organ grinder monkey toy with cymbals that used to be a real thing. Organ grinders would play while these monkeys would bang on the cymbals. The toy was a real thing too, and it was called the Jolly Chimp. It's been featured in movies like Close Encounters, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and even Toy Story 3. In the movie, they have him playing the drums for some reason instead of the cymbals, and I have no clue why, so if you know, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know. I looked it up and I couldn't find anything. The film actually has a lot of really weird, out-of-place random things in it, like these girl bullies who wait for Hal in the boys' bathroom and take his pants, or the cheerleaders who are cheering in the crowd as the police bring a body out of a house. It's so random and bizarre. The origin of the monkey or why it's actually doing what it's doing is never explained at all. We never even find out where their father got the monkey in the first place. And I'm kind of glad they didn't go there and put that into the movie. It would have cheapened the movie, in my opinion. A lot of the time, there's way too much explanation. It's a lot more fun not to know and just to wonder why. And the monkey really isn't the point of the film anyway, even though it's the device that kind of carries the message of the film. The movie is actually all summed up in the last few lines of the movie when Petey asks his dad what they're going to do with the monkey. I love the response his dad gives, and it's a pretty smart one that I obviously won't give away here. I'm not really a fan of these types of movies, but this one was a lot of fun. I saw it in a very packed theater during a premiere, and this is the type of film you want to see with a lot of people, just to hear the laughs and the reactions of everybody. The Monkey is an absolutely bonkers movie with over-the-top everything. It has a lot of humor that you probably won't expect going in, but it is a laugh-out-loud funny movie. It has a lot of heart and, surprisingly, a coherent and meaningful message. I'm giving The Monkey 3 stars for all these reasons. It is a strong R rating for very strong language, ridiculous gore, but all in all, it's not a very scary movie. It's a roller coaster ride that doesn't stop until the credits roll, though. The Monkey actually comes out February 21st, so if you check it out, let me know what you thought. This one will probably be talked about for years to come. Like and subscribe if you want to see more movie reviews like this one, and thank you so much for those who already have. And remember, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.
So I know it's easy for your mind to wander,